Welcome to the Prosperity Playground, the podcast where business meets energetics, strategy meets soul, and prosperity becomes inevitable. I'm your host, Anna Lozano, mom, founder, investor, mentor, and energetics in business expert. This is your weekly activation to rewire how you think and feel about wealth, success, and personal power, because it's not about working harder, it's about regulating deeper, aligning stronger, and receiving wider. You don't hustle for your future, you calibrate to your higher self. Join me weekly for high-level conversations with the world's most inspiring entrepreneurs, creators, and thought leaders. True prosperity isn't just about money. It's about alignment, freedom, expansion, and embodying your worth. Welcome to the playground. Let's build your most prosperous life. Welcome back to the Prosperity Playground podcast. Today, I am joined by a soul sister who I met online and had the opportunity to soul connect with here in Mexico at Sound Healing Tulum, a magical destination. Jessica Zweig has been described as a voice of her time by Marianne Williamson and a personal branding expert by Forbes. A serial entrepreneur, Jessica founded 3 businesses and recently sold her agency, Simply Be, the nation's premier personal branding company. Her first book was a #1 bestseller, Be, a no bullshit guide to increasing your self-worth and your net worth by simply being yourself. Her latest release, The Lightwork, Reclaim Your Feminine Power, Live Your Cosmic Truth, and Illuminate the World, hit shelves in August 2024 and was named a USA Today bestseller. Host of top-ranked podcast, The Spiritual Hustler, Zweig is a highly sought-after speaker for companies like Google and Nike, a leader of a global community of spiritual women, and hosts sold-out retreats and digital programs on business, branding, and spirituality. In today's episode, we dive into Jessica's spiritual rebirth in Egypt, authenticity and truth as business strategy, the rise of the feminine frequency and activating our light codes. This is a deeply moving conversation. Enjoy the activation. Jessica Zweig, welcome to the podcast.
Sister, it's so good to have this time with you. I just love you.
Oh, I just love you. And I was like, we're not chit-chatting because we need everything, every moment recorded. So I was sharing the backstory that we met online. I feel like when your second book launched, The Lightwork.
Right around then. Yeah, a little before. I'll never forget it. It was like beginning of 24.
24. And then universe brought us together and said, you ladies must meet. So I'm going to plant you at the beautiful Sound Healing Tulum at our mutual friend Joey's place. And we got to soul connect over a beautiful dinner, beautiful concert. I met your bestie, Megan Taylor, and I'm just so grateful for you, the work that you do. And you're just as even more amazing in person when you can soul connect. And so thank you for being you.
Thank you for you being you, sister. The light in me it sees the light in you. You know, that's just how it works. Whenever you meet somebody that you feel that soul connection, that magnetism towards, that awe towards, it's like you couldn't see that in me unless you possessed it in yourself. And it's just one big reflection, you know?
Goosebumps. We're starting off with the goosebumps. Thank
Me
you.
too.
So when we booked this podcast, I have your book right here. I decided to reread it because I bought this in Kelowna when I was in Canada, and now I'm hanging out also in Mexico. So I'm like, we got to get this book to Mexico. And honestly, it just landed differently. And it's only been a year. So that really signifies the quantum leaps that so many of us are experiencing. But at the beginning of the book, you share your story running the Simply Be agency, multi-7 figures, all the accolades, all the awards, all the dream clients, wildly successful on paper. But you, Jessica, the founder, the CEO, the creator, exhausted, burnt out, and you boarded a plane to Egypt, 2022, fall 2022. But again, look at my goosebumps. So these are God bumps that come out as they're meant to. As I was reading these two specific pages, I had to write it down here. When you describe your experience at the temple of the goddess of Hathor and the temple of Isis, like I had chills, and it's
Wow.
a bazillion degrees in Mexico. So that's where I want to start. I'd love for you
Yeah.
to take us back to those specific moments
Oh,
and
wow.
the sacred remembrance, because
I
big
love.
shifts happened within for you.
Yes. I like to say that Egypt like fucks up your life in the most beautiful of ways. If you're willing to be open to the invitation, you know?
Yeah.
And I love that you brought those two stories into this conversation because those were two of the most, I mean, that trip in its totality absolutely redirected and reoriented my entire life, but it was profoundly related to those instructions from the goddesses in those two temples that were really sort of the pinnacle moments.
Yeah.
And so I'll start with Isis and then we'll move into Hathor. Those are my two, sisters now, my
Yeah.
homies. And it's important to remember, and you mentioned it, I was killing it on the outside, but on the inside, I was slowly killing myself with all of the stress and the burnout and the exhaustion and the fatigue. And that was just normal to me. I didn't know anything different. I thought that was just what it cost to be an entrepreneur. That was my entire reality. And Isis was first. She was first, half of the trip. Dendera Hathor was second half. And we go into the Temple of Philae at like 4 in the morning. We had to get up so early on this trip. It was not a vacation. It was a definite pilgrimage where you're like not sleeping and it's just exhausting and it's all so magical at the same time. And we needed to get up early because we would get private access to these temples before the doors would open to the public at like 8 o'clock. So we'd have to get up at 4 to get there by 5 to have private access for a few hours. So all this to say, it's this massive landscape fillet, and there's only 17 of us, like on the
Wow.
whole grounds. And the Holy of Holies, which is the most like sacred part of any of these temples, the innermost like sacred portal that the high priests and priestesses were once only allowed to go. So it's got all of this powerful energy. Like that's something I want to convey to those listening. Like Egyptian temples are not structural, stones. They're living, breathing frequencies. And I remember going into the Holy of Holies. It was still dark outside. Sun hasn't even risen at this point. And I leaned over. I got down on my knees and I leaned over my body and I put my hands like this on the ground. And I was just like my pineal gland was getting rubbed by my knuckles, because my forehead was on my hands while I was crouched over. And I laid there for like a good couple minutes. And Joey was there and she was playing her harp and they were chanting. So there was a lot of beautiful energy that we as a group were starting to really move.
Yeah.
And I just remember standing up on my knees. And I mean, I've done a lot of plant medicines, Anna. Okay, I'm just going to be real.
Yeah.
Like I've done DMT and Bufo and Aya and mushrooms and, I've done them for healing work, of
Yeah.
course. And I know what it means to have a pineal gland activation where you know, your brain exudes the 5-MeO molecule. And I was completely coherent, sober. There was no medicine on this trip whatsoever. And I stand up on my knees and all of a sudden I am blasted into Isis's arms.
Wow.
And I am seeing so much sacred geometry and this just cool, like floating, expanding flower of life all around me. And the colors were so bright and iridescent. And I heard her. I heard her speak to me. And she said to me in the strongest, most motherly, loving, fiercest voice, she said to me, "You, Jessica, need to learn how to love yourself the way you love me, the goddess. You are a piece of the goddess. You have to devote yourself to worship yourself as you would devote and worship me because you are a piece of me. And you need to learn how to rest." And this was the message I needed. Like, in my view, like Isis represents so many things. She's one of the most powerful goddesses of all time. I really find her to be a goddess of like mother love, divine motherly love. and I could feel her medicine like going through my cells like mother's milk, like it was being coded into my body, into my DNA. And she was like, you need to learn how to move as slow. And I wrote this in my book. I still remember what she said. You need to learn to move as slow, to see the seasons change, as slow as you can watch the flowers bloom, and so slow you can hear the wings of the fairies flutter. That is how slow you need to learn how to move. And it was like, I mean, if you look at my life over these last 2 years, like 2.5 since I've been back, I, I have
It's night and
slowed the
day.
fuck down. Like
But
everything is different.
but in that moment, was there like, what the fuck are you talking about? Because we're so programmed to build, we were, because there is a shift happening, to
Yes,
build success in that way.
of
And
course.
the message you received from her was complete opposite. So was there that like, huh? Or was there this like complete openness? What was your instant reaction?
It was, it was honestly complete validation of many things, but I remember it's so hard to explain it. Like you're in,
Yeah,
you're in another dimension, but
of
like
course.
I could feel, she could feel how tired I was.
And you just got the hug that you needed.
I
And yet
did.
this remembrance of what
Yes.
must be moving forward.
Yes. And I think we, whether it's Egypt or a journey or a sacred experience or whatever, sometimes it's our spiritual awakenings come in the smallest of things. But I really believe that we all get the messages that are needed for us. Some people go into ISIS and who knows what happens to them.
Yeah.
But for me, I was so bone deep fatigued for years. And I ran through it like it was normal.
Yeah.
And it was Isis's medicine, message, voice, vision that I just got this full body validation that one, I was as tired as I felt.
Yeah.
It like came online, like holy shit.
Yeah.
And secondly, that I indeed had a new path that I was sovereign enough to walk to change how I moved through life. I couldn't change my life. My life, I'm still an entrepreneur. I'm still busy in building businesses, but I have tweaked the pace of how I engage with life. It starts from within. It's a sovereign choice. And that was really the biggest. I came out of that actually Holy of Holies, and there's a photo of me on my iPhone that my friend took of me where I'm literally standing like this with like my arms spread out straight. Like I look like I'm a ballerina sort of in this photo underneath her archways. And it
Wow.
really was like I was being reborn.
Incredible. So you were open. Like at that point, there was no other option to go back to what was before.
No, I mean, I say this all the time. I mean, the opening chapter to my book is called I Am New.
Yeah.
And I really, like, I feel it. I see it. It's visceral. Like, I went to Egypt as one version of myself, and I left that girl there. And I got on the plane back from Cairo to Chicago, a new version of myself. Like, the whole trip it was a death, actually. That trip was a death. And then the rebirth sort of alchemized. Like, Egypt was the ceremony, Egypt was the classroom.
Yes.
The last few years of my life has been the journey, has been the integration, has been the re-essencing of who I think, really come here to be.
So powerful. So for the women listening who are like, but I can't book a flight
Yeah,
to
of
Egypt
course.
right now.
Yes.
First of all, how do you describe light codes? And then how can they start to activate the light codes, but like right here, right now, without drastic decisions and burning
Yeah.
it all down, like step by step?
Yeah, of course. And I say that in my book. I say that in the first few pages. I'm like,
Yeah.
this book is not here to tell you to go buy a plane ticket. This book is here to help you realize that you hold in your own hands, literally with the book, but also proverbially in your own life, the keys to end your own suffering and to find your truth and to live your light and to live from love and joy. And so, and those things all sound really great in theory, but to your question, like, how do you practice? How do you do the work? And I'll go into light codes because, I just did a podcast on like, what do I mean when I say codes? Because everybody told me I didn't know the word codes until I went to Egypt in 22. It never like use the term. Now I use it literally all day
All the
long.
time.
And it was like, you're going to go get the codes, Jessica. You're going to go to Egypt. You're going to get the codes, girl. You're going to go get those codes. And I was like, what the fuck are
What
codes?
are codes?
And now I like know exactly what codes are. So I'll just wax a little scientific for a second. And I'm not a scientist by
Yeah.
any stretch of the imagination, but like, this is related to our DNA, right? Like our telomeres, our genetic code, our gene keys, like inside these DNA strands that are literally made up of light. And they have been, passed down from generation to generation. We were literally the carbon copy imprint of our parents that have been, conditioned over the evolution of humanity to live in a state of survival, right? Like that's just how the fittest won. And that was a reality for a long stretch of humanity on this planet where we didn't have shelter, food, resources. I mean, there was a lot of dark ages, right? And today in this current timeline, we don't have any of those same problems. We are pretty much technically safe and free and abundant and healthy. This is our true nature, but we've been asleep. Like our codes are lying inside of our physical systems, inactive, dormant, and some scientists will say that like most of our DNA is junk. It's like junk DNA is a term. I don't believe in any of that. We have actually scratched the surface on our human potential, simply based on the technology of the human body. And so we can activate our light codes. We can get into our bodies. We can go into sacred ceremonies. We can travel to places like Egypt, sure, but we can also do breath work, and we can go into nature, and we can sit in circle with our, community in our hometowns. We can ecstatic dance. We can play with, art and color and get into our creative hearts, and we can primal growl and scream and move energy. It's all around like activating our bodies. Like that's really what I think moves this energy and clears out the density. Yeah. And it obviously is, just sort of the invitation to go deeper, right? Like we have to feel our feelings in order to transmute our feelings. We can't just stay stuck in our trauma or our anger or our resentment or our rage. Like I say that in the book, darkness is not evil or something to be afraid of. Darkness is simply the lack of information. It's ignorance to our own power, to our own truth, to our own light, to our own limitless nature that we've been programmed in our DNA, quite literally, as much as the mass media and corporate capitalism and social media and governmental institutions, religion institutions, it's all a program that is designed, and this is my, conspiracy theory coming out, but I don't believe it is. I believe it's true, to keep humanity asleep. Because if humanity's asleep, then like the 1% can have all the control. Yeah. And so if we're sick, if we're afraid, if we're disempowered, we can be controlled. And so this is an invitation. I think all of this work that you and I are doing on the spiritual path, however that looks for you, think about this to your question. Like if I can't fly to Egypt, you can still, do some breath work on a YouTube video for 20 minutes for free. You can still go take a long hike in nature and slow down and sit next to a tree and close your eyes and feel the energy of it. You can hire a therapist and talk unearth your trauma. You can work with plant medicines. There's so many things we can do that allows us to really understand the depth of our true. I believe we're really here to be limitless, joyful, and abundant. Like that is what we all fucking signed up for. And we get to be the circuit breakers of this generation to create this new earth that like is going to follow in our footsteps, like people like you and me. Yes. So I know I just kind of went off, but like,
no, I love
that's my answer to the question.
When it starts with a decision, that's number one, is like deciding that I'm going to create the new, I'm going to create and activate, I'm going to create the new and activate my light codes. And yet there's so much deep rooted programming. There's another part of your book where you talk about Eastern Europe, and I so resonate with that. I was born in Poland. And so, when I talk about my country, when I think about my ancestors, it is heavy. Yes. There's war, there's struggle, there's poverty. Like I don't know anyone in my lineage that was prosperous, that was abundant. Goosebumps again. And so it is work. This soul work, as you say, the spiritual hustle work, comes with so much.
It's
So
so good.
much, but we get to do this. This is why we incarnated at this time. And so, another thing you really talk about is our role as women right now, the
Yeah.
critical role that we play. Can you dive into that? Because we're part of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, we're so responsible to be
Yeah.
a part of it. To
Yeah.
be honest, it's why we incarnated here as women at this time, and having these conversations and finding each other,
Yes.
truly to like link arms and like fucking ride together. So I'll answer your question by kind of going back to Egypt, and this quick moment was more than a quick moment, but Dendera Hathor activated open. Go to this beautiful temple called Dendera, and it's where Hathor, it's her temple, the temple of the seven Hathors. And long story short, I was in one of her little chambers, pressed my whole body up against the wall. I was by myself, and I got struck by white lightning. Like that's the only way I can describe it. And please let me just disclaim that like the shit that happens to you in Egypt sounds like you're making it up or that you were like on
On
drugs, but
drugs.
none of this is true. Like the only way I could describe what happened to me in that second was I got hit like my eyes were closed and I saw this massive diamond white flash of light and I felt it. It like hit me.
Wow.
And within a matter of like seconds, I started hearing all of these voices. Like they started coming in really, really strong into my crown chakra and they were talking really, really fast. They were sort of sometimes speaking in chorus, sometimes they were speaking over each other. It was like, she's open, she's open. We have to get this information in. And they told me all, I mean, I listened to like just for like minutes. They said so many things. I wrote them all down. I put them in my book. But one of the things that they said to me in that exact moment was, actually, I've never really shared this story, and it's relevant.
It's so good. Like I'm like, holy shit, woman. Okay, I need to go to Egypt with you,
Let's
actually.
go.
I was
Yeah.
gonna ask you, have you taken women through Egypt? No.
Everybody's asking me.
Yeah.
I'm figuring it out.
Okay.
2026. I'm figuring
Okay.
it out.
Sign me up.
That's done. You were going. Um, so right before I had left for Egypt, I had done this like promotional video for my business, for my agency. And in the video, I was wearing like a corset with like a lace top underneath it. Like my stylist had put me in this really cool shit. And I was stressing. I like recorded the video. I had left for Egypt and I was like thinking about it. And I was like, I feel like that's too much. I shouldn't wear this corset. It, you know, my clients are corporate. I shouldn't like look like that. And I was stressed. I was texting my creative director at one point on the trip. I was like, I think when I come back, I want to redo that video and wear something different. I've never really, this is so minor, but like so related. And I was in Dendera, like getting struck by white lightning, hearing, I consider them to be the Palladians. Honestly, they were like, and they said to me, Jessica, you wear that corset. You don't apologize for your beauty. Stop. You need to take up space. This is your role.
Wow.
And the feminine frequency is returning now on this planet. And it is your job to be a leader of that returning. And they said to me, but not just your job because you're only one woman here. It's all women's job to be the leader of this moment, this returning, this reclamation. And that was what they said. And then I ended up like getting really sick right after, started channeling light language, like that whole situation. Like I got a full body light activation and my physical system couldn't handle it. It was way too much light and my system had to metabolize it. And that metabolization looked like a ton of tears, freezing cold, no appetite, like fucking broken open emotionally for the last 5 days of that trip. Like that shit was wild. And all this to say, to answer your question about the women, you know, and what our
Yeah.
role is now, and I just wanted to give that context. I had no choice but to like come home and unpack what I had heard in Dendera because they didn't use the word the feminine frequency is arriving or being birthed or something like that. They used the word returning.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, I'm going to do some research. Like I was called to like read all of these books on like basically what happened before the patriarchy. Like the patriarchy is technically like 4,000 years old,
Wow.
but humanity has been here for 200,000 years. So like where's the discrepancy? Like what happened before? And to summarize it, we lived in a matriarchal system. Like the goddess was God, like the planet revered the great mother. God was a feminine being and women led tribes, civilizations, religion, sacred rites. We were the original innovators of everything from like architecture to astronomy to textiles to ceramics to language to science, farming. Like I could go on and on. We were literally everything we see today. Like it was in many ways birthed by the vision and innovation of women. And that might sound so insane to people because we're so living in this masculine, this toxic masculine paradigm. And so our role, I don't care what you do, whether it's, you know, working at a job or starting a business or running a team within a corporation, I don't care, raising a family, but we as women are actually born to lead.
Yeah.
Like we are meant to be in our full expression of leadership. And if we were to really, like I close my eyes sometimes and I dream of a world where like women were at the top of every country, the top of every corporation, the top of every religious institution, the top of every government, sports team. Like if women were running the world, we would be in a completely different world. We just would be. And I don't think anyone can argue with that. And not to say that men don't play a vital role. I love men. We need our men to be in their divine masculine protection, sacred hearts, to do this work in co-creation with us and sacred union with us. We've just been so out of balance.
Yeah.
And
That's exactly
so,
it.
yeah. So that to me is what I really believe, you know, my mission is here to like help women remember that.
Yeah.
And for just, you know, not to be the leader of the leaders, but to like ride alongside
Yes.
sisters.
Yes. And it's fascinating because we've been programmed to show up in the masculine in order to get the success, just like your first business, just like my business that I exited as well. And yet that creates confusion in relationships because the man is then like, well, if you're in your masculine, what is my role? Like,
Right.
how do I show up for you when you actually are so in control? So it's created this confusion in society and relationships. And so small things like being here in the sacred land of Mexico for me is like, yes, open the door for me. Yes, carry my groceries. Like saying yes to the things that I can, of course, do by myself. I'm strong. I lift weights. But it's like starting simple and allowing this energy of receiverships. Receivership shows the men too how they are meant to show up in their empowered masculine. Because we went so far to the one side. And like you said, it's that rebalancing, which is going to happen as a collective, the more of us who say yes to all of the things that you're speaking of and embodying.
Yeah. So true. There's so much to say about that. It's so good.
So you
just basically explained the evolution of my marriage.
And so many of, and it's like the husbands are like breathing again. I feel like that's how I feel with mine is like he can breathe and feel empowered and feel like a man because that's how he incarnated. And it's amazing because I get shit done for me now that I used to, you know, just do because I'm an empowered woman, but like, no thanks.
Right. No thanks. No thanks.
You also say in your book, your frequency is more than a vibration. It is your unique genetic blueprint, your identity. Your frequency is your truth. So we're going to shift a bit to business.
Yeah.
That's so powerful. Right. What happens in business when our truth actually becomes our strategy? And that's really the business that you birth post the sale of your company and post Egypt.
Yeah. You know, thank you for reflecting that. I'm so happy we're talking about this. I love this so much. It's funny. Like, I feel like, you know, I think we're all like this, right? Like we come into this world, not a perfectly shaped sculpture yet, but like a slab of marble. It's not coal. It's not clay. It's fucking marble. You're gorgeous from the second you take your first breath. But then we've got to like chisel, you know, in every chapter of our life, more and more and more down to our truth of who we really came here to be. And that's an evolutional journey that takes decades. That's why they say like it gets better with time. Like to me, I love getting older, like the wisdom that comes with this. But if I really were to reflect on your question, like I was doing in many ways what I'm doing now. It's simply be helping people build their personal brands. My agency was a personal branding company. And this concept of like simply being yourself, living your truth, sharing your truth, constructing a brand rooted in truth was like what I was doing for thousands of clients. With this last, iteration after I exited and came out of the closet and launched this spiritual closet and launched this book, I'm kind of finally like free to like drink my own Kool-Aid and like share myself with the world and not have to sort of not hide behind an agency, but like the agency was the business, not me. Today I am the
You
business.
are the brand.
I am the brand. And the thing that I innately understood from the very beginning, like of my career, because I've started 3 businesses. My first business was a magazine that started, digital magazine that started at the dawn of social media in 2008. And I just had an instinct, whether I knew it or not, that people were compelled by authenticity, vulnerability, realness, humanity, like whatever you want to call it. But people are not attracted to the veneer. They're attracted to truth.
Yeah.
And I really want to honor that not everything is meant to be available for everyone to see. There's a fine line with authenticity. I think there's, people who are trying to manufacture it by over glorifying too many personal things on the internet. I don't think that's the way. I think it's really about coming from service, using your own story, showing up in a way that's from the heart, and being you unapologetically. Like all of your quirks and personality and beliefs and style. And guess what, sister? Not everyone's going to like it, and that's good. And I think that's the biggest hurdle and mindset shift that we have to really like move past. I did this coaching with all of my clients during my agency days. I do this now in my current business, but I had to experience that myself. Like when I sold the agency, launched jessicazweig.com, and started my little email list, I had women write me and point blank say, I'm unsubscribing because I'm not interested in the spiritual content. I just wanted to follow your business content. And I was like, well, you'll get that too, but you can, kindly see yourself out. And there was no like sting in it. I was like, I was so clear, like who you are for is who you are. Like you attract what you are. And I think that the point is just to really get to the heart of the question is like the more you are in your own truth in your business, the more your business is going to light you up.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be calling in the people that are in alignment with that truth because they see that frequency in you. It's a match. And that creates such joy in who you serve and how you make money because you're like, I don't say this too much because, but I would do what I'm doing now for free. That's how much I love it. I can't, and I know my value, but I am so in service of the women that come through my world. It is the best thing in life to work with these women. And when I meet the women in my community and my retreats and in my school and in my mastermind, I'm like, you're all like little fragments of me and I'm fragments of you. Like we're the same. It's such a testament to truth.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And it seems like this iteration, like your clients are, like you said, like soul clients.
They are.
And because you've built the foundation on you, on your magnetism and truth and authenticity. So, what about for the women that right now, like you were, are building iconic brands, but
Yeah.
there's a disconnect. They know there's another layer of truth, another layer of authenticity, of depth, maybe without burning it all down. Because there's also this whole thing of like rising like a phoenix. I'm just going to burn it all down. But, we have responsibilities. There's family, there's bills to pay. There's, for anyone, for those who can't burn it all down, like how do they start pivoting and shifting and tweaking into the next version of?
Yeah. Yeah. Such a good question. And my response to that is it's such a inside job.
Yeah.
Like everyone for years and years in my agency, came to me and they're like, I want the perfect platform. I want the beautiful website. I want the ideal clients. I want the big Instagram following. And I was like, okay, we'll get you there. That's what I know how to do. But it can't start there. It has to be an inside reflection of who you came here to really be. And that can be very scary and confronting to do that kind of work on your show or your failures, because I always find like that's where the gold lives, right? But when we do that excavation, we find our light, we find our power, we find our medicine, our message for the world. And I think before we take that leap into, the next iteration out externally,
Yeah.
it's more important to be doing the work internally, and however that looks for you. I basically, between the moment I got my offer to sell my business, and that was like a 6-7 month due diligence process, and everyone from the outside still thought Simply Be was, always going to be. And then I announced, I launched this thing. I hard launched it like 7 months later, 8 months later. I didn't post anything on social media. I was like very quiet
Okay.
because I was doing all of this healing.
Yeah.
I was reorganizing who I saw myself as first. I didn't care what other people, it wasn't for other people at that time.
It was for you.
It was for me. And so, like, I'd caution anyone thinking, like, I got to find the strategy. It's like, no, let's look at your self identity.
Yeah. Go
That's
in.
where the magic is.
Go in. And then you do the work and the downloads happen. So one of the things you birthed was the Feminine Frequency Business
Yeah.
School, which just wrapped
Yeah.
up another cohort. Tell us about that download, because, sharing stories like this is evidence for the women, whether they're in the void, whether they're just being called to another version, whether they're already in their light. When we can sit in the trust and the allowance, magic downloads, obviously through the work you've done, they show up,
That's
but
right.
you are evidence for others. So talk to us about that download, how it came through.
Thank you, sis. I love that. So, was still running my agency, like my side hustle. I was in the last few months of it, about to exit it.
Yeah.
And I just popped open a spreadsheet and I was like, here are some ideas for some products that I could sell in my new business. I knew I wanted to go into coaching. I knew I wanted to help women. I knew I wanted to blend the business, the branding, and the spiritual. And I just wrote down like the feminine frequency, because I got that from Hathor's Temple, the Feminine Frequency Business School.
Wow.
And then, yeah,
Oh, good.
I literally it just came to me on a document on my computer. And then I launched my business and it was like going well. And it was like, okay, I think I want to really go all in on launching a group program online. And I know I want to call it this, but I didn't really know what it was going to look like, how much to charge, how long was it, how many people. It was so like top line, just an idea. And I love this question because I never really have shared this in full detail. And I hope this is helpful, and I think it will be for your audience. I have a whiteboard at home. My husband was, I think, golfing that day or gone. I had the whole house to myself. I popped a microdose mushroom. I took my like oils that I bought from Egypt and I put them in a diffuser. And so my whole house started smelling like Egypt. And I played like the most amazing music and like blasted it. And I just started making a big creative mess. Like, who is this for? Who is she struggling with? What is she struggling with? What is she desiring? What is what's missing in her life, not just her business? And like, just started there. And I was like, okay, what can serve her? What's going to meet her there and actually change her life? And I was like, well, I don't just want to talk about business. I do believe that the goddess medicine should come into this because they are in all women. I want to use the chakra system because it's about embodiment. It's not about coming from a place of the old hustle, but from an aligned hustle that keeps our nervous systems regulated while we expand. I was like, they should have sacred tools and I should make recommendations for books and salts and card decks and crystals and a playlist. And then I was like, is it 12 weeks? Is it 6 weeks? Is it 18 weeks? And I was like, I think it's 12. And then I like sketched out the order of operations I wanted to teach her in this transformational journey. And after like 3 hours, I had 15 slides of whiteboards.
Wow.
And I just took pictures of them all. And then I put them in a notes document. And I did a 30-minute Loom video and I shared it with my whole team. And that was like a real visionary activation. It was like one of my biggest visionary moments. I was like, I
Wow.
cast the vision for this. And so flash forward, like, I don't know, a year later, not even a year and a half later, less than, we've graduated over 120 women from it.
Oh, so good.
Their lives have changed.
Literally. And this is alignment. Like
Yeah.
this is the evidence of heart-led alignment. You just allowed and then you took the action to
Yes.
birth it into
Yeah.
life. We allow logic and what ifs and what if it's not priced? What if no one says yes? What if this, that, shoulds and what ifs? They hold us back. But if you didn't take that action step, those hundreds of lives would not be changed. And yet it is just 1 year. This is the beginning
It's the
of
beginning.
the school that
Yeah.
actually should be school. Like that's a whole other thing.
I know.
Right.
Can I actually say something really quickly
Yes.
just to emphasize the how to be totally honest, how in awe and like humbled I am by what's happened. Because I mean, I got that download in Egypt. It came through me in this whiteboard session, and then it's now this product. But like what Heather was like, it's not just your job to lead this movement; it's all women's job. And I had this woman in my program right now. Her name is Wendy. Shout out to you. And she got on Instagram stories like a couple weeks ago after one of the modules, because I teach a live module every week for 90 minutes. And she was like, I have gotten my master's in 2 different verticals. I have a PhD. I've been trained by like Coca-Cola, GE, and their corporate leadership trainings. Like I have all of the credentials, and never in my life or career have I been so elevated and upgraded than I have in Jessica Zweig's program. And I was like, I couldn't have asked her to imagine someone would say that. I'm
Wow.
just coming from my heart, right? But when we come from our heart and alignment, like you're saying,
This is what happens.
this is what happens. And you can't, don't cut your nose off to just spite your face with the shoulds, with the planning. Like just go for it. Because if you're coming from service and you're in your heart and you're trusting yourself, you never really know, you'll never know what's on the other side of that unless you act.
That's it. And it's incredible. These downloads. I remember when Love Powered Co came through for me. And then I went to GoDaddy and I was like, oh my God, it's fucking available. Lovepoweredco.com. I'm like, how has no one thought of this brilliant name? Like when it's meant.
Brilliant.
And now this download for the Prosperity Playground, I envisioned as a massive self-transformation brand. And when it landed, it landed. And it was available too. Those moments where you're like, it's just meant to be. And of course, I could have had all the fears come through. I don't know what the full path is. What if they say no? And so forth and so forth. But because it's so in alignment, it's been so ease and flow. Like all the guests have said yes. And then I get
Yeah,
to have
girl.
these magical conversations that will go wide and far to touch the hearts and remember and remind them to lead in authenticity. Joy is something else you talk about. So cultivating joy within to co-create with the universe. What are some simple ways? Like I look at my children, they're so joyful, and yet we adults are so serious. What should
Oh,
we do?
I mean, there's so many things I could say about this, like joy, joy is our biggest birthright. Like
Yes.
really. And that's also one of the biggest takeaways I got. It was in fact, the whole theme of my trip from Egypt. It was like, Jessica, it's supposed to be fucking fun. This
Yeah.
thing called your
We
life.
make it so fucking serious and
We do.
hard. Yes.
And really, when we think about it, it's not that serious. Like nothing is really that serious. It's our reptilian brain that is just hooked on survival and, the default programming that is, this is why back to the light codes. It's so important to like activate, move your body.
Activate.
But joy for me, it's like, I mean, I'm 43, you know, joy looks a lot different than it did when I was say 33.
Yeah.
So I'll only speak from my own experience, but joy, I took a walk yesterday for an hour and a half after work, and I was in full conversation with how beautiful the trees were.
Yeah.
You
It
know,
can be
like
that simple. Yeah.
it can be that simple.
Yeah.
You know, like I I really try and practice gratitude. It's not just a cheesy advice we got from like Chicken Soup from the Soul or whatever. It's such a paradigm shifter when we're able to really anchor back into the things that we have, the abundance, the blessings of it all. Like I'm building a house right now, okay? And it's an investment. I'm trying to not say it's so expensive. It's an
Right.
investment. And we're 6 months out and my husband and I are stressed, but I keep telling him like we're stressed with blessings.
Yeah.
Like this is a big undertaking. It's going to be a tight year for us. We're investing in our future. We've aligned the most beautiful land builder, designer team. We're supported by our guides. We wouldn't have found this land unless we were meant to be here. So it's like, it's reframing
Yeah.
what could take you down and probably would have taken me down a few years ago to a whole different perspective that creates like so much peace in the body and joy in the experience of it simply by practicing gratitude. You know, I really am all about community. Like I love my sisterhood in Nashville. I'm so rooted here. I have 2 dogs. I'm in love with them. They're my children. Like a sunny day, the littlest
Yeah.
things bring me joy because I'm conscious of it. I'm devoted to joy. I'm committed to joy. It's different than happiness, which is a fleeting emotion. Joy is a conscious state of being that we get to choose. And yes, we're going to have hard days. And yes, you're going to be on your fucking luteal phase and your period. You know, we all go
Totally.
through all the things.
Yeah.
But I also just will say one last thing on this front, like kindness, sharing love, being genuinely enthusiastic for someone else's joy, connecting. You know, I heard from somebody on Instagram the other day I hadn't heard from in a minute. And she took a few minutes to tell me like she was thinking about me. And I could have like just breezed by it. And I stopped and I felt my heart expand. I'm like, thank you. Like, how are you? And it created so much joy in just a few seconds. Like we're just so busy stressing that we miss the trees. We miss the moment. We miss the kiss from our dog. We miss the sunshine. We miss the beautiful message. You know, it's all around awareness and choice.
Such gold. And that creates the magnetism. And it's so simple. It's so simple. So a reminder to cultivate that joy, choose the joy every single day. And every single one of us, you know, obviously we're living different lives, but there is something to be grateful for. And there's something to choose joy for. And the sun shining, you know, the trees having leaves now after winter, like joy. So thank you for that reminder. I could talk to you forever, and I know we will.
We will. We're going to.
We're going to. What did I miss that you'd love to add on? What are you sharing? When's your next cohort starting? We got Egypt 2026.
That's right, girl. My next cohort starts in September. Okay. We're opening up the doors in August. I'm hosting a really beautiful online full day summit in August called Brilliance.
Oh.
And it's going to be just one big, beautiful activation of business acumen, sisterhood, spirituality, like all together in one magical day. And the doors will open to Feminine Frequency Business School from there. And we'll go from September through November. And then my next retreat is happening in January. In Sedona, Arizona.
Oh, so not Mexico,
not
sorry
Mexico.
to cut you
Yeah.
off. Okay. And do you have the dates for those?
Yep. January 26th through the 29th.
Okay, babe, I
Yeah.
think I can be
Yeah.
there because
I'm feeling very called to the vortex of the
Sedona.
like sacred medicine wheel that is Sedona. So I am, yeah, really feeling into it. And it's beautiful there. I mean, it's more like, 50s, 60s, but like gorgeous winter, but it's not winter. It's
And you've done a
Arizona.
lot of healing in Sedona. So
I've been only to Sedona once, but I'm wanting to go deeper into the land. We're
okay.
working with some incredible healers, like as shamans, guides, curating the most magical day of content and sisterhood. And it's going to be, my retreats keep getting better and better. So I'm very excited
Obviously.
for this next one. Yeah, that's
Obviously.
happening.
I love that. Jessica, final question. So, your future self, you 20 years from today, what message does she have for you?
Oh my gosh, that's such a good one. Don't forget to play. Play is your greatest prayer.
So good.
Yeah.
And finally, what does prosperity mean to you?
Prosperity means, let me quote a poem real quick by Hafiz that I just learned about the sun. I'm gonna kind of botch it, but it goes something like, and the sun never says to the earth, you owe me. And with a love like that, it can light up the entire sky. And I think prosperity means to me being absolute love, like being the gift of love to the world. Like not everybody, you might think that not everybody deserves that level of love, but that level of love is what you deserve.
Yeah.
And I think living from the heart, living from pure presence, like living not just from love, but like absolute love,
Yeah.
without expectation, without, judgment. It's without attachment.
Yeah.
Creates so much peace, presence and peace in your life. And I believe it begins with love. So prosperity to me equals peace, and it equals being that gift, like to my life, to the world around me.
So beautiful. And where can everyone find you?
Come find me on jessicazweig.com. You can learn all about my school there, my retreats there. You can come find me on Instagram. I'm just at Jessica Zweig. It's me in the DMs for the most part. I love to hear from anyone's community whenever I go on a podcast. So don't be shy if you're part of Anna's tribe. Come say hi. And my book, The Light Work, you can find it wherever books are sold.
Get the book. And we're actually going to give away the book. So yes, we're going to give away some books. So we'll post that too. You are amazing. Thank you. I'm so grateful for you. And until next time, everyone.
Until next time, I love you. I hope I see you soon.
We will. Thanks for joining me on today's episode of the Prosperity Playground podcast. If this convo sparked something in you, be sure to follow the show on Apple Podcasts so you never miss your weekly activation. If you enjoyed the conversation, please rate and review. Your feedback helps us reach more souls just like you who are ready to calibrate to their most prosperous life. Know someone who needs this frequency boost? Share the episode to Instagram and tag me @_Anna Lozano so we can grow our energetically aligned community together. And please remember, true prosperity is about alignment, freedom, expansion, and embodying your worth today. See you on the next activation.